Okay. Okay, good morning, Year 6. Before we start writing today, let's quickly recap where we're at in our fable unit. So we've been studying the imaginative text type of the fable, and we've noted its clear structure. So we've noted orientation, complication, resolution, and then, of course, the final coda or moral. And in lesson 3, we've studied the shepherd boy and the wolf and adapted its plot structure to create our own contemporary version about a bored student who keeps faking emergencies online. So let's look at the original fable again. Here it is. So one of the key language features we identified in the shepherd and the wolf, the shepherd boy and the wolf, was the shift in this description during the climax. So we've got that here marked in red. Then one evening, as the sun was setting behind the forest, a wolf really did spring from the underbush. We can see how this precise language here, how that choice creates urgency and drama. And today we're going to move from the repeated false alarms in our story to the real climax. And we're going to look after that right after we've looked at our task orientation and that wasn't supposed to happen. And our success criteria. So our learning intention for today is to jointly construct the climax of our adapted fable, ensuring the language shifts from spoken-like chatting to highly detailed, dramatic, written-like narrative. And our success criteria here are: we will use descriptive circumstances of time and place to precisely locate the climax. We will choose intensified action verbs and noun groups to make the crisis vivid and suspenseful. And we will negotiate our choices using meta-language to explain why we select them. Okay. So remember, our character, Bored Kim, is at the park attempting their third fake emergency live stream. So the last paragraph that we wrote jointly was: a few days later, Kim tried the trick again. Kim shouted, "Emergency, I'm trapped," into the microphone. This time, the audience was skeptical. Only a few commented, demanding proof, but most ignored Kim completely. They were already weary of the elaborate hoax. Okay, now we're going to start the real climax. Like, the real danger is about to arrive, and we're going to describe it. Okay, so for that to happen, we need to set the scene precisely. The language in the rising action was quite casual, but now using circumstances of time and place, how can we immediately show the shift to real danger? Think about the time and the atmosphere. What specific moment did the real emergency begin?
It happened when they were live.
Yeah, that's a great starting point. So let's make that sound more sophisticated, more like a written narrative. Instead of "it happened when they were live," how about using a strong circumstance of time to signal the dramatic moment? Like in the original fable, it was one evening as the sun was setting, for example.
Maybe when the sun was starting to disappear and the park was dark.
That's much better. I really like the idea of the park becoming dark. Let's use a technique we call a nominal group to pack that detail in. We could say, for example, "just as the final golden light vanished behind the trees." Do you see how that sentence started acts as our dramatic circumstance of time?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're going to write that down. Just as the final golden light vanished behind the trees. We've got here. Let's check. Great. Now, where in this specific place did the real emergency happen?
Oh, near the big old swing set.
Excellent. So we can add a circumstance of place here. So a real danger emerged at the forgotten corner of the park, close to the rusty old swing set. That's precise and descriptive. So let's write that down. Just as the final golden light vanished behind the trees, a real danger emerged at the forgotten corner of the park, close to the rusty old swing set. Now for the action itself. So the danger, which is the wolf, didn't just walk up, right? He sprung. It sprung. We need an intensified action verb to convey sudden violent movement. Our adapted danger is a discarded firework igniting in a bin. So how can we describe the firework starting?
The firework went off.
Yeah, went off works, but it's a bit weak for a real climax. So I wonder what verb we should what verb would show the sudden explosion. So we want to convey that the danger erupted.
Oh, it exploded?
Exploded is powerful. Let's use that and put the firework as the subject, followed by a strong nominal group to elaborate the detail. So maybe a carelessly discarded firework suddenly exploded with a deafening, terrifying blast. Do you notice how deafening and terrifying blast uses adjectives and a strong noun group to intensify the action? So, right, a carelessly discarded firework suddenly exploded with a deafening, terrifying blast. Great. Let's swap the teacher.
Okay. So now we describe Kim's reaction. In the past, they felt amusement. How do they feel now? Seeing the real danger, we need an internal process and a strong attitude to describe the terror. How do you think we can do that?
He was scared?
Yes, so he was scared. But let's use some meta language here. We can use an adverbial phrase to elevate this scared feeling into a more written mode. Instead of scared, how did the fear manifest? Did they tremble? Did they freeze? Did they scream? The original text uses in terror, the boy ran.
Yeah, they screamed and ran away.
Yeah, excellent. So let's continue the action of running with the feeling. How about, frozen for a moment by pure raw terror, Kim then bolted toward the path, screaming a genuine, desperate warning. The phrase pure raw terror acts as an elaborated internal process.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. Let's write it down now. Frozen for a moment by pure raw terror, Liam then bolted toward the path, screaming a genuine, desperate warning. Okay, does this sentence successfully capture the internal and external reaction? I think it does, yeah. Okay, so finally now, we're going to move on to the resolution. So Kim is genuinely shouting for help. But the community has been fooled too many times, don't you think? What is the tragic consequence? Linking back to the moral, what do you think?
No one believed him, so that's why the fire then kept burning.
Yeah, that's the core consequence. Let's formalize the community's refusal, making it clear that they are acting based on their previous attitude. We need a strong connective to show the cause and effect relationship. We could use however, or maybe even consequently.
Yeah, use consequently.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. Okay, so consequently, the neighbors, having heard his cry so many times before, simply clicked off their screens. Now, for the finishing thought, why didn't they help? The original story said, "He cannot fool us again," they said. What do you think? Let's try to recast that as a narrative voice, confirming the negative evaluation. So perhaps they were deafened by their certainty that his cries were merely once more an elaborate hoax. This sentence could complete the conflict. Let's see if we can write this down. So, Consequently, the neighbors, having heard his cry so many times before, simply clicked off their screens, deafened by the certainty that his cries were merely once more an elaborate hoax. Okay, class, let's review the paragraph we constructed, focusing on our success criteria. So I think that we've successfully shifted the mode from a more spoken-like planning to a formal, more dramatic narrative. We have anchored the climax using the circumstance of time, just as the final golden light vanished behind the trees, and chose a powerful, intensified action verbs, the exploded, bolted, screaming. And by doing this, we have achieved our purpose to make the reader feel the desperation of Kim's genuine cry and fully grasp the consequences of their earlier deceit, leading directly to the moral that liars are not to be believed even when they speak the truth. So excellent work, Year 6. We'll now move on to drafting our own resolutions based on this model.